Good day, listeners. You're listening to the Spiritual Artist Podcast. This is Chris Spiller, your host, and it has been a hot summer here in Dallas. And so I'm really excited to bring, hopefully, some rain by talking with today's guest. So I'll tell you, every once in a while, someone reaches out to me, and it is so exciting. And so let me introduce Iseult McCormack. She is an intuitive abstract artist from Bray County, Wicklow in Ireland, and she works in mixed media. She has delved into numerous mediums and traversed many creative paths, leading her to a place of profound peace and fulfillment. We just did a little, right? Peace. Okay, it is within this realm that she thrives, translating her innermost visions onto canvas, inviting viewers onto the ethereal landscapes of her dreams. She paints intuitively, drawing inspiration from the universe of her dreams and emotions. And I'm going to ask this next question, but good day, Iseult. How are you?
Hi there, how are you? I'm good. A little nervous.
Don't be nervous. This is going to be great. It's so funny. I want to share with the listeners that people reach out to me occasionally, and it's so exciting for me because, I self-published my book. And I started all this path. I didn't go through a publishing house. I don't have a lot of money. And suddenly I'm having people reach out to me from somewhere that I've never been. So, you're in Ireland, and it's like, oh, right. It is. It's so cool. And not only was it cool. So I want to tell my listeners, she sends me a picture of my book, and and I'm going to slide these over the screen after this interview, but she has written all over the pages, right? You've written all over the pages in there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a total workbook. It's like, oh my God, he's articulating what I feel.
I just love it. And it really validates what my message. And I have to tell you, Iseult, I was like, oh my gosh, to write something and you send it out, and you really, my goal is to help other people and to communicate with other people these feelings. And my second goal,
like a service, isn't it? Do you know? It's like you're giving your thoughts, and I suppose it's that whole imposter thing. You think no one else is going to want them, but they resonate so unbelievably. Do you know? It's like, you get out of my head.
I know, isn't it wild though? You're like, it's such an incredible world. I want to share this with the listeners. It's such an incredible world, isn't it? Here I am in Dallas, Texas, and I'm reaching out, and I did something, and it reaches you in Ireland. That's just amazing.
Yeah. It is amazing.
And when you sent me that book, and and I love that too. I always encourage people to write in their books. I was raised where I was raised where nuns would tell you, they would slam your fingers.
I had them too. I had them too, let me tell you. Although most of my workbooks were just doodles and drawings and, cartoons and stuff. But yeah, I find, right, for me, when I'm really learning, or it just becomes a workbook. It's like that's how I learn as well, by writing things down. Like I'm old school. I couldn't start typing straight away and learn things. I'd have to write it down first and then type it. It's like, that's how it goes into my brain. Like, I have an unbelievable amount of journals. I'm always journaling. I've got Post-its all over my little studio, little like affirmation things. Like,
it's funny what I just heard when you said that. It is because you're a writer. You should, and I don't know if you do you incorporate words into your work? Do you ever write into it?
Sometimes when I'm starting paint, it depends on my humor, but sometimes when I'm starting to paint, and to get rid of that blank canvas, I'll write words on it. Yeah, they used to be angrier. Now they're all like, oh. You can literally see the state of my mind in my art in the last 4 years. Like, when I got back to my art, I was kind of in a dark place, and I knew I needed to change my life, and at least I had art to help me, and it's so funny, like, people were buying that stuff, and there was a lot of black in my work, like, and now it's like, you could literally see how my head has been, or how things have changed for me, like inside and out.
Yeah, I definitely believe that your work reflects the state you're in, right?
100%. Yeah, 100%. And it's funny because you don't necessarily know that at the time, or even actually see that evolution. But like other people could be like, oh, you must have been in a really good place there, you know.
I always tell the story. I painted something when I was really dark. My father had passed away, and I wasn't even going to show it, and I put it out there, and it was one of the first paintings bought, which
You
shows you
nearly
that,
don't want to sell them because you're like,
right?
there's tears in that, you know,
Yes.
literally. Like, I know, yeah.
But you know what's funny? I think that's how we communicate with people, right? I mean, someone came in there and she saw that painting and it resonated with her. And so I like to say there's no bad emotion, right? I mean,
Absolutely. And that is not really what art is as well, you know, like is connecting to something inside someone else with your whatever you've done that's been in you to come out, that resonates with someone enough that they want to buy it with their money that they earned by having to go to work, you know.
yeah. Yeah.
That's what I always think. It's quite humbling, like, and it's amazing. I think that's one of the most amazing feelings, isn't it, about when you are selling work? Like, it's like, yeah, I love
Yeah.
it.
And you know, it's funny, you never know how they react to it. And they probably react maybe in a totally different way than you did it, right? I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, 100%. And then as well, you know, um, I don't know about you, but like sometimes paintings aren't finished for me for a really long time. Like sometimes I have them hanging in my bedroom, waiting, like speaking to me every day. I'm like, you still looking at me? And then one day I'll wake up and I know exactly what it's done, and then it's finished, you know. And that was happening one time with this one painting, and I was doing it. And I just took a picture of it and I had it on Instagram. And like two people were like, I really want to buy it. And I was like, it's absolutely not finished. You can't have it. Do you know what I mean? And they were like, no, but we want it like this now. And I was like, then I had to really think, like, did I want to just let it go? Do you know what I mean? Like, just because I felt that I hadn't finished, but these two people were like, they nearly were like this against each other, trying to buy it off me, as was. Anyhow, I happened to be in the house that it's in now, right? And the other day, and I looked and I went, why did I think that wasn't finished? You know?
It's interesting. You know, so many people ask that too. How do you know when something's finished? And this is going to lead to my next question for you, because in your description, you describe yourself as an intuitive abstract artist. So I want to unpack that. What do you mean when you say intuitive?
So I suppose I learned, well, first of all, I suppose my dad was an architect. So when I was a kid, he was old school, obviously, because the age was. So he used to come home with reams of paper. So I was drawing from the time I was out of the womb. Do you know what I mean? And I loved it, blah, 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 straight into college there. And I went to college. All I ever wanted to do was go to art college. And when I went to art college, it was the biggest disappointment. It was like, what? You give me a project to do? Like, I have to be creative right now, is it? You know? Oh, so it totally wasn't what I wanted. But like, you know, I was young, but anyhow. And I kept trying that for a really long time, like when I'd be painting. So I tried everything. Like I've done ceramics, I've done like painting, you know, I've done all sorts of things. Like I did fashion design, you know. And I was always, I think, trying to please other people rather than myself. And then a few years ago, when I picked up the paintbrush again and started painting and all, and I just let go of all that other thing. And like, I never have a clue what I'm going to paint. I don't even know what colors I'm going to do. I just come in and start pinking things up. Like, you know, my favorite tool at the moment actually is a ruler that my dad used to use, you know, and I just use that like as a palette knife, you know.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love that he's helping me co-create nearly too, because his energy would be in that ruler because he used it forever. Do you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, so intuitively, I suppose I never, you know, the way some people like plan things and plan paintings, and you know, they
Yeah.
do little studies and stuff like that, and that's amazing, but that is absolutely not what I do at all. So I just come in and I just start, and it goes, you know, it's that whole like, I love it, I love it, I hate it, I hate it, I love it, hate it, love it. Oh, this is okay. Go to bed, wake up, hate it, you know. I was just in Australia with my daughter, and I've been working on this really big canvas for a while, and like I was at the stage of hating it. I was working on it too long, you know.
Yeah.
I went off to Australia and I was there for a month and met my grandson and blah, blah, blah. Well, I'd met him before, but anyhow, I bought a few art things. And when I came home, I came in the door, like, and I hardly said hello to my son. It was like, oh, yeah, straight up here, like, and the painting was there. And I just got this, this acrylic, the high fluid things, squirted on it. It was like, oh, it's finished. And I love it.
It's funny you say that. That's sometimes the trickiest thing, right? You have a very detailed composition and it needs that. It's that free stroke, right? But boy, it's scary, right? Because you're like, but everything's so perfect, and you don't know, is that free stroke gonna work, right?
That's it. And you have to allow yourself for it not to work.
Yeah.
As well, because you can always paint over it.
You're right.
It's like Nicholas Wilton has this podcast and he talks about, just take chances. It doesn't matter about wasting paint. It doesn't matter about wasting things, just do it, because you never know it's going to come.
Right.
Kind of like life, really, isn't it?
Yes. I listened to his podcast too. I just found him about 3 months ago.
Yeah, I like him. He's got a lovely voice too. The voices always help. I like your voice too.
Thanks.
The way sometimes you might get a recommendation of some podcast and you're like, can't listen to that,
It is amazing, isn't it? I started getting to the point where I feel like I can tell whether I can resonate with a person. I won't say but whether by their voice. Like I could almost tell the minute I get on the phone, I'm like, oh, I don't know. There's something in there, whether they're holding that rigidity in their body, or they're whatever, it comes out in their voice, right?
Yeah, that's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think so. I've waitressed forever. And I can feel people. Well, I've always felt people's energies, but I numbed and dumbed that down for years. Do you know what I mean? But like, sorry, this kid's playing outside. They totally just distracted me.
Well, you were saying that you can feel their energy. Do you consider yourself an empath? Are you familiar with that term?
I suppose, yeah. Let's face it. I suppose part of this whole evolution of myself is accepting all the things that I kind of hid for years, because you don't want people to think you're batshit crazy, like,
No, you don't.
But then you turn 50 and then you realize you don't actually care.
I love it.
That's the truth.
No, it's true. You're true.
Oh, 50 now. I don't care what anyone thinks.
It's like you look at your life, you go, oh, there's only so many years left. Who cares what they think? I'm going to do what the heck I want.
But also, not even at the so many years. If you've packed all that into this point and you've got at least another 30 years, like, think of what you can do in the next 30 years. It's amazing. Isn't it?
It is amazing. It is amazing. It's every age has some gift in it, right? Every age of your life has some gift in it.
Yeah.
Now, I want to go back to something you said, because I want to pull that out a little bit. So you said that you feel that you're intuitive because, rather than sketching it out and figuring out what you look within or you feel within.
Yeah, I think so. So someone was asking me this before, like, I think that maybe I dream about it before I paint it. I don't know. Like, as I said, I don't know what colors I'm ever going to use. But then again, I'm so attracted to the same colors. My palette is very, similar. Like, so I think that there's a certain level, like, so I'm painting and I might pick up the color I want and all, but then like something tells me, no, you have to get like black paint and like go all over that and then go on top. I work very much in layers and stuff. But the intuitive bit too is like, I feel like that it's not just me painting, that like there's something coming through me that tells me what, because I'll just hear it or feel it, oh no, that needs that. Do you know what I mean? I could be doing something here and I go, no, you need that. And so you do that. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's
an interesting thing because I've talked to people and I think sometimes I'll hear a word, like I'll hear it. I literally hear a statement, paint that, get rid of that.
Yeah.
But other times it's just a feeling, like you said, it's almost not even in words, right? You're just, it's almost beyond.
You just know that's what you have to do.
Yeah. And where does that come from?
I
It's
know.
amazing.
It's
And people
incredible.
say, well, it's your subconscious. And I would say that there is some truth to that. That's something you may have learned in your past, maybe an experience when you painted before. You know what I think? I think to myself, well, did I do this before? But then sometimes it'll be like, no, I didn't do this before,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Where did
yeah.
that?
I know. I suppose it's like, when you go into that lovely space and you're meditating, like, and you're just like floating in the universe, like, all comfy, having a little hug from the stars and shit, like,
Uh,
like it's so comforting. I think that that's the feeling that you have when you're working. Just, oh, I need to pick that up and do that, or oh, where's that like piece of bubble wrap, because I know that's exactly what I need to do. That it's like really, Um, when I was in Australia, my daughter, she knows what I'm like. She bought these. There's a observatory in Bunbury, and they open up twice a year, and I happened to be there when they opened it up. Like, and oh my god, so it was mind blowing for me, because I've never looked at stars through a telescope. So these things are massive, massive telescopes. Like, and I'm looking through and so you see the stars, and then behind those stars, there's like just bazillion more, and then behind that, it's like having a sparkly top. You got diamantes, and then you've got all sparkly like thread going through it. Just mind blowing. But then again, you're like, oh yeah, and here I am worrying about my gas bill when I go home. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, this is not it. Like, great
right.
crack, but it's not it. Like, you know. And it's like you talk about that, and I got kind of, well, during COVID, so I made my little spare room into like a little studio, and it's, you can see mountains and all. It's like, I'm quite where I live. You've got mountains and the sea, but anyhow, I hear all the birds and stuff. And I remember sitting here one day, and I was lost in the bird song. And then I was like, look at you recognizing and hearing the bird song. Do you know what I mean? It was like, oh, noticing the noticed, like noticing that you notice, because you're just so present that you're not thinking about anything else. You're not hearing anything else, It's like, looking at trees in the wind, and or water on a leaf, like, and all of the things are just so beautiful, like, to nearly make you cry. It's so gorgeous.
I love it.
I love that connection, that knowledge, that, like, ultimately, I suppose that's where we're all trying to be better people than we were the day before, just by learning and stuff and striving to be connected. Like, it's all about connection, isn't it? Like,
It is. I think that's great. Yeah, it is about connection, and that's that feeling I get when I'm painting. But I love how you point out that, I call it moments of awe, right? But you point out all those things that you notice, and we don't, right? Or I'll say the universal weave. So many of us are rushing through lives. We've been taught to rush, get
yeah,
it done, get it done, get it done. And if we just slow down and
yeah.
just stop and notice the
Then you
light,
get
like,
more done, which is the most bizarre thing in the world.
isn't that, it is weird.
Like,
And
isn't it?
sometimes it's not even you who's doing it, right? I mean, sometimes you slow down and suddenly you find someone steps in and does what you were going to waste your time doing. You
Yeah,
know,
I know.
I was like,
Great, isn't
it
it?
is great. I mean, I tend to be the guy. I tend to be the guy in our family that does a lot of the housework, right? And I would get faster and faster and faster. Clean the kitchen, put things away. And then I thought, no, I'm gonna slow down. And so I'll just sit there. Maybe, like you said, I'll sit there and I'll relax and I'll look at the birds outside the window. And all of a sudden, I noticed that someone else actually did the dishes or unloaded the dish. And I'm like, I don't, right? I don't
Yeah,
have.
yeah. No, it's wonderful. Like,
I told this in a class I was taking, and I would like to share it with the listeners too. You talk, because I've talked to someone else recently too, and nature is definitely a starting point to see all those moments of awe. But if you can get to the point where you can notice those moments of awe in everything.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I remember one morning when I started practicing that, I got up and I was having breakfast, and I kid you not, there was a bottle of like Dawn detergent on the counter and the light was hitting it. And I started noticing how beautiful the plastic bottle was shaped, that it was so curvaceous and organic, like a woman's body. And I saw the liquid inside and the way the light was running through it. It is a bottle of detergent.
Magic though, isn't it?
It's
like, that's magic. And yeah, it's lovely that you noticed that, because as you said, like, so many of us are lost for so long, and caught up in life and, thinking that you can't change it as well, thinking that you're stuck, And actually, I was having a look earlier on, little things. One of the things I have on my wall is believe in yourself, like massive writing, like. Go on.
I've done the same thing, when I was through all these years, when I was working on this book, I would just write things on the wall, like I'd paint it right there, be present.
Yes, but it works.
Stop thinking.
I have a vision board I made, right? And I've put it up in my studio, and it's all just pictures, you know yourself what a vision board is like. And I was looking at it the other day, I took it down, and I realized that, like, I've ticked most of the boxes on it, like, do you know? Like, most of the boxes on that I've ticked, and it's like, wow, didn't even know that was working.
Didn't you say you used to, or did you work in advertising, or were you in graphic design or something?
No. I just always have been in the service industry.
Really? Where'd you learn about a vision board? Because I think they're great,
I don't know. I think I come from a kind of manifestation kind of thing.
Yeah.
I've always done things. I've always liked collage, like, and I've always, liked doing things like that. I think before I even knew that they were called vision boards or anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, okay, I like this, to the extent that I help other people do them, come up here and have like little crafty days and we cut up things and we make vision boards.
Oh, I think they're incredible. Well, what the premise that I've understood behind that when I was taking my life spiritual coaching classes is you draw a mental, how you were saying earlier, you see it like in a dream, you see what you're doing ahead of time. Well, a vision board, and for our listeners who might not have experience with this, it's putting that out there and saying, I see this. I see this could be, and that could be a vision board of me traveling. It could be a new home. It could be a relationship, right?
Yeah.
It could be
anything. Mine has got like travel on it. It's got a picture of a palm tree on it, right? And when I went to the city that my daughter lives in Australia, Bunbury, there's a palm tree, and I was like, that's the same as the one on my vision board. Now, it wasn't the same palm tree, but it could have been the same palm tree. But you know what I mean? It's like,
right.
I have a picture of my new work now showing, like my exhibition's about to start.
Oh yeah, I want to talk about that. I'm glad you brought that up because
we're kind of at the same time.
We are. My exhibit starts August 30th, and when is yours? This same time?
September 18th to the 1st of October.
So let's talk about this because it's been exciting for me. This is the first time that I did an exhibit that I literally painted everything purposely for it.
Yeah. No pressure then. Except from yourself, of course. Don't you just have to get out of your own way? I'm like, oh my God, what if no one likes it? And then I was like, fuck it if no one likes it. This is right.
It's about you, right?
Like so when I started doing my art again, this every year in Dublin in the summertime, we have a really famous park right in the middle of the city. And so there's always art at the weekends around the railings, And so 4 years ago, I did my first one, and I was like, I'm bearing my soul, and these are my dark paintings. But like, it had been so long since I had painted, and I knew that I had to do this again. I don't know where that came from, because like one minute I was going, I could do that, not doing anything, to like going, oh my God, I'm in Stephen's Green next week, And I remember meeting a woman that day, and she was like, oh, I've been here like 3 times in a row and I haven't sold a thing. And I was looking at it again, well, if I don't sell anything today, I'm never coming back. I'm never painting again. That's it, done. And I sold 11 paintings that weekend, and I was like, oh. So I was working 5 nights a week restaurant for years, like, and so I went into work and I was like, right, I need to start giving my art some time. So I'll do 3 nights and 2 days. So I was starting to claw back a bit, and then I was doing things at the weekends, like doing fairs and stuff like that, and then like I got into a couple of shops and all that kind of jazz, but then COVID happened and it was like, never waitressing again. And actually my restaurant that I worked in, that I'm back working in now 2 nights a week, they were amazing. So when they reopened after COVID, they got me to have a little exhibition in the restaurant, like, which was so cool, like, and felt so supported. Do you know that kind of way? Like,
Oh, that's lovely.
the way you think it's a real airy fairy idea that you can actually do this. Do you know? But you actually can, because all you need to do is change your life. And you know yourself, you could sell like 3 paintings in a month and not sell anything for 6 months, so you do need something else. But like the gallery I'm working in at the moment, I love, and it's very community driven. It's a non-for-profit gallery, and the director is amazing and real supportive, and guiding about where to go next and what you should do and blah blah blah, but I definitely think as soon as you start doing what's right for you, everything just starts aligning. Like, you couldn't make it up, the opportunities I've been given since I started back doing my art. Like, ridiculous. Like, I was on the RTE for painting scarves, like, 70,000 people looked at it and they all bought my bloody scarves at Christmas. I had welts in my hands from painting. I hate them. Sometimes people ask me if I'm still doing the scarves. I'm like,
no. You know what's funny? I want to go back to what you just said, because it's really amazing. So I did the same thing last year. Earlier this year in January, I left a corporate job. It's paying me really well, but it was occupied. It took everything. My whole week, all my energy. And I was talking to a woman. She said, "Trust me, when you do this, when you, like you were just saying, when you step out, you'll make the same amount of money, but it comes from different places."
Yeah, and it's better making money like that, isn't it?
It is better.
My God, I love having a few little ways of making money rather than just one.
Right. So you make some money waiting to, like, I'm still doing a little social media marketing. So I make a little money over there, and I'm doing a little consulting over here. And I just sold a painting, and I'm having, but in the end, and then so many books sold, it all adds up. Right. And
you have more free time than you ever did, and you've got peace in your heart. And that it's just a win-win.
It is a win-win. And isn't that true abundance, right? That's abundance. Freedom of, what you're doing in your week. You can decide how many days you're going to paint. Not, to me, what's just right is corporate America, where I'm told I have to sit at a desk. That I can't tell you that is the most.
I have never had a job like that. Like, ever. I have no idea what it's like to work in an office like that.
No, you don't. You don't even have to put that on your vision board, because
no, it's definitely not going anywhere.
But it's just, it's just terrible. And I love the freedom, like, Iseult, we'll have this interview on Tuesday morning, yay, and I'll just squeeze it in, and then I'll, that is abundance. And
it totally is.
So this is your second solo show?
No, my first solo show.
Oh, okay.
I've just been in group shows, or like, so my first solo show in a gallery, as opposed to like a pop-up or whatever.
Right.
But I want to read out something to you that I took down off my wall earlier, because it's exactly what you were just talking about. And it's like, so many people are afraid to take that leap into their creative, like, journey, or there's always going to be an excuse. There's always going to be bills anyhow, and you'll always have the money for them somehow. You'll manage. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Anyhow, I thought this was gorgeous. It's just start over, my darling. Be brave enough to find the life you want, and courageous enough to chase it. Then start over and love yourself the way you're always meant to. Isn't that gorgeous?
It's beautiful,
isn't it?
Yeah. It starts with that self-love. It's not greedy, it's not selfish, it's self-love, right? And
like, I grew up in Ireland in the 80s, which was a pretty dismal, dark place, like, do you know what I mean? And very Catholic, and Catholic rule, like rules, the government, everything was awful, you know. And I've had a real kind of, I don't know how I'm after jumping to this, but I'm gonna go with it. Like, I had a real difficulty with using the word God for such a long time, because the God that I was fed was like, you know, if you did this, that, or that, you were like going to go to hell. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes, I do.
I remember going to like my first Holy Communion and asking my mom, so what do I have to tell the priest? And she was like, your sins. And I was like, and have I sinned? Do you know, I couldn't understand how, like, you know, should have been there and tell him you told me a lie or something. Do you know what I mean? Like,
What did you say? Make it up? Did your mother say, just go in and make it up?
you didn't tell me you said a lie. Oh, right, said a lie. So it's taken me a very long time to really, I've been using the word universe for a really long time, you know, but coming around, it's really hard, isn't it, when a word has been kind of hijacked a bit, like, you know, because they're in the introduction to your book, you say that about, let's all recognize that there's something bigger than this, like, and you know, we have to, you know. I remember years ago being absolutely like intrigued by the whole, you know, the Fibonacci sequence, you know, that everything is that ratio that's beautiful, do you know, everything in nature, like it's just mind blowing. Do you ever hear of a guy called Professor Brian Cox? He's like a scientist guy. He's an English guy, like.
No, I haven't.
And does this show, and he's real interesting. He's nearly like David Attenborough of like science, do you know what I mean? But he makes it like, and I never did science in school or anything like that. So he'd be watching it and I'd have to rewind. He'd be in like in a beehive, you know, and looking at that and looking at how each part of the beehive is made, and it's made like that so that the bees can do this, that, and the other. And you're like, that didn't just happen. You know, like, it's mind-blowing. It's like, you know, when things get so big that you can't quite fathom it, and then things get so small you can't quite fathom fractals either. It's like, okay, something bigger here.
Yeah, and you know, I think we get, as humans, we get so caught up on names, and then we start identifying with the name, and then we start attacking other people that use a different name, and or you're right and I'm wrong. And if we get, that's what I call it. See, I feel like it's looking at the spiritual level. We're going to the idea of a greater power. We don't have to have it wearing a suit and a jacket. It doesn't have to have, you know.
Yeah, exactly, because that definitely doesn't exist.
No,
you know?
No. And so,
I mean, I think one of my favorite things in the world to do is just look up, you know, at the clouds or the stars or whatever, you know. It's and the sea. I live in a seaside town, you know.
I saw that and I'm very jealous.
That sea as well, you know. I was actually down there today. Sinead O'Connor lived in Bray for a good few years, so her funeral procession just went down. So I was down there. She had a profound effect on so many of Irish women, men, especially my age. Like, she always spoke the truth, you know. That kind of hit hard, you know, the way when you feel someone belongs to you.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, totally diverse. You can cut that out.
No, I love that. You're true. And I love how you said it, when something belongs to you.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, so it was my day, but yeah, I'm really lucky. So I have the mountains and I have the beach, you know. So, and then like,
you are really
only about half an hour away from city centre, so you can go into the craziness of that and then be like, I'm going off to look at the mountains in my studio. Goodbye.
You know, yeah, the more you're describing it, the more you're right. You have Dublin up there, you have the ocean, you have mountains. You're lucky.
I know, I'm really lucky, you know. And like, Ireland's still very green, you know, like, but you know, in 20 minutes I can be either in the countryside or like sitting in front of the sea, like, so
wow,
I'm pretty lucky, like, you know. I do recognize that, you know.
I think that's important too when you're going into that place. You're talking about when you get into that space where creativity happens, it's just about being grateful, you know.
Totally, like, And you can be grateful for the most ridiculous things, like, you know, grateful that I found a pen to do, or, you know, anything. And it is, gratitude is the truth, isn't it? Like, because, you know, in fairness, we live, regardless of any inner struggles we've had that got us to here, like, we do live a very charmed life just from where we are, where we're born, you know, food in the fridge, roof over the head, like, you know, jobs. We're lucky, like, and we have our art.
Yeah.
It's just probably the best bit, you know.
It is. It is. I love it. I love it. So I want to bring out something that I saw you you had sent me some of the pages you had written in, and there was a word there that you had used or grabbed onto, and so I want to talk about it. I know you probably cropped those pages, so I would just see enough that I wouldn't see. But you
Go
did
on.
say, did you? But you did say authenticity. There was a page about authenticity. Do you remember that?
I'm sure I have it marked.
Yes. Where do you think authenticity comes from in artwork? I mean, what makes it authentic?
Oh, I think it's like what I was saying to you earlier. Like, I used to always try and please other people. Then I think the authenticity is just when you just connect to whatever is working through you or with you or in you, co-create and whatever you want to call it, and you're painting. Like, and you're just being true to yourself. Sure, it doesn't matter if no one likes it.
Right. It doesn't.
Do you know? And so many, and it's gas, right? Because I recently got really into paper, and I don't usually paint on paper, on real canvas, like, but I recently started, you know, taping loads of paper together and acting like it's just one big canvas, and then taking the paper apart and working on them separately. And initially it was supposed to, you know, be a test in mark making, but I've done some of my nicest work there, you know. It's just mad sometimes what comes. I'm going to find that, because I think I know what you're talking about, because I actually just picked up the book to show you, or to.
Oh, well, no, I think it, you know, that I want to go back to what you said. You said, and I agree with this. It doesn't matter if people like it. And I'm also going to, this is my opinion, of course. It doesn't matter if you sell it. You know,
I know. That's it. And sometimes you have to get over your own head for that, don't you? Because, like, so just after I did that Stephen Screen, I sold all those paintings. It was like Christmas time was the next thing. And I was like, I'm going to bang out a load of paintings. Like, people are going to love them because I'm an amazing artist. You know what I mean? And no one bought out. And at that next fair I did, like, not a single thing. They were kind of, And that's because there wasn't a single bit of love in those paintings. There wasn't a single bit of connection in them. And sure, I was being really kind of cheeky to everybody, myself included. You know what I mean? Oh, I'll just do this and they'll be great because it looks good. But there was no soul in them at all. That's why they didn't sell, I'm sure of it. But that's a lesson as well.
It's a beautiful lesson.
So I was really stressed out about
it almost made me cry when you said that. You really did. But when you said there's not a bit of love in it, it just made me go, oh.
You know what I mean, though?
Yeah, I do know exactly what you mean.
Isn't it amazing? Like,
if you paint,
you can even taste that in a meal someone cooks you, or a drink someone makes you, and all that. The energy, like, oh Jesus, do you know what I mean? Like, I always think that's really funny. Like, you know, especially I suppose working in a restaurant for so long, you know, you can see the difference in different chefs.
Yeah.
Like the same meal, the same dishes I'm serving, but it's a different chef that's on, or whatever, you know.
Oh, that's really interesting. I never thought about that from the server's point of view. Yeah, you're right. It depends on who's in the kitchen. You can even see it in how the sizes that the pieces are cut in. Like if it's a vegetable mix or something, how they cut the vegetables, right?
Yeah. It's mad, isn't it? And it's all like, yeah, it's like, it's just all about the love. I still can't find this page. Is that it?
Okay. I think no, we got there. I think, you know, it's funny. It's true. It's that consciousness. It's what, when I was before COVID, I don't know if I told you this, I was doing an art market. I had like 80 different artists and I was managing an art show, like a festival. And when I picked, yeah, it was wonderful. It was growing.
Until COVID happened and you lost everything.
Yeah, I lost it.
Yes.
But what happened was I looked for artists that, like you just said, that I could see that they were really conscious creators. Like they were really putting love into that act of what they were doing. And I think that if you start thinking about money, you're putting your consciousness into making money.
Yeah. That's why I just hate doing commissions. I just don't do them anymore because I put myself under so much pressure. Oh my God, will they like it? I'm doing it wrong. Money, it's just not worth it. I much prefer to paint. And if someone likes it, well and good. Like, if someone doesn't like it, it's grand, someone will. Do you know, or not.
Right.
I had a painting. I put this painting that had been on my wall for about a year into this open last year. And it sold, and I said, that's mad. Like, I've been sitting looking at it for about a year again. And the only reason I put it into the open, because people going, put it in. Not that painting, just put a painting into the open. And I was like, oh, dimensions, and that. Anyhow, I sold it. So there was 110 paintings in that exhibition, and only 10% sold, and I sold one of them. I was like, but like putting it in was much more about getting other people off my back, because I need to start putting things into open art exhibitions and blah, 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 or applying, do you know what I mean? So that was like, oh, that's mad. So you also never know what's going to.
No, you don't. And it's not necessarily even an indicator of good work in a way. It's just an indicator that it's sold, right?
Yeah.
I think it's, I was, when you're talking about you're doing your show, that one thing I'm finding, a couple things I wanted to share with the listeners is, with this show, I would recommend doing a show for people because it forces you outside of your comfort zone. It's forced me to learn new skills, right? I mean, I've stretched myself a lot. Like, I'm like, oh, but I never tried this technique. I'm going to try one of them like this. And so I've learned so much in the last 3 months. I'm preparing for show. But the other thing,
you finished.
I'm finished.
Have you done your work?
I got them all done. I know. And I have 3 weeks till it's hung.
I need to like focus myself back in and like, like stop buying canvases. Don't even start anything new. Just like finish bits you have.
You know what? You just need to listen to feel it, right? And you'll know, when you feel it, you go put them up like you do, put them up against the wall, right? And when you feel it.
Yeah.
You feel that impulse, right? That intuition, that impulse that says, oh, a stroke here, I need to do that, or right? Yeah.
Totally.
So, but the funny thing is, so many people say to me, I can't tell you how many people have said to me, well, I'm making them all big. I don't know if I told you, they're all 6 foot by 4 foot. They're big, all of them.
So jealous.
But people,
I'd love to have the space to work that big, honestly.
But it's funny that my friends are saying, well, people won't sell. Nobody can fit that in their house. They won't sell. And I'm like, well, that's not the point of this show. This show is not about selling. I want them to experience it. I want them to experience it.
And for you to experience it. It's not as much about anyone else. It's like ticking another box, isn't it? Like that. You have to do it. There's no point in, like, for me, right? It's no point in pretending I'm like serious about this if I'm not going to put on my big girl knickers and do it.
Yeah, it's for you. It's for you.
And anything else is a bonus.
Yeah.
Obviously, I wanted to be a sellout, sure, so much as yourself, but that's not as important as putting it out there.
Yeah, and I think if you have faith that it will come from many different channels, abundance comes from many different things, whether it's a sudden bonus somewhere else or a small job here, or it comes from other places. You're getting sunny over there.
This is the first time the sun has shone in like 7 weeks, dude. Let me tell you. I think maybe the rain is coming over there because I'm getting your sun.
You know what? That would be a blessing. That would be a blessing.
How hot is it?
You talk to the spiritual artist. We're sending some sunshine to you.
There you go. I just sent you some rain. You'll be cursing me later on.
No,
Irish woman.
We have the next 10 days. It's going to be over 104 degrees every day. No rain. We've had rain 2 weeks.
What do you do in that heat? You just stay in.
You just watch things die.
Water the plants.
And it doesn't help them. It just, yeah. So anyway,
That's super hot.
so tell me about your show. Are you doing small, like how many pieces are you doing?
I need to gather myself at the moment. So at the moment, I have all sorts of array. I'm going to get actually one of my I'm going to get two people that I really trust and admire their opinions to come up and help me zone myself into, like, you know, because as I said, so I have canvas and I also have paper, but the paper also needs to be framed. And then you start going into a whole money thing as well, you know, because
Yeah.
I might win the lotto there. But anyhow, there'll be a few. I'm actually, so it's in the gallery I work in. So I'm in there all day on Friday. So I think I'm actually going to try and do a mock setup about what I have in my head about what way I want to do it, just to see how it works size wise and all, you know. So that's the plan on Friday.
Yeah, all those things will help. Having some friends come in, going in, looking at the setup. Have you a theme for it yet? Have you felt like
so yeah, it's called When I Close My Eyes. So it's up there for thinking, let me tell you.
When
no one can tell me what I see when I close my eyes.
I love it. I love it. How did that just come to you? Is that just a download?
I was sitting on the beach with an artist friend of mine, like, and we were just talking. I was saying to him, I think it's mad that some people don't see colors when they close their eyes. I was like, when I close my eyes, and he goes, that'd be a great name for your exhibition. I was like, I actually think it would be, you know. So yeah, it was mind-blowing to me that some people don't see anything. It's just dark, like, you know.
Yeah. You know, when I was a little kid, this is so weird. I'm telling something I don't think I've told anybody.
No, you're gonna tell loads of people. Go on, still.
I tell this total stranger that I met who lives across the ocean.
Not to mention the people who are going to be listening.
When I was little, I would see, and at night, little dots of color, and I would talk to them.
Love that.
I'm serious. Little dusts of color would move across my eyes, and I would see them. You know, like when your mother puts you to bed, and you're in there alone, and you know the door's half open, but you're all alone, and it's dark. And I still can try to. I had these long conversations. There were points of color.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Because I was Googling all that stuff one day, you know, those little speckles that you see across your eyes sometimes, like sometimes they could be color or whatever. I was reading about that one day. It's amazing. And again, that's the whole like noticing what you noticed, you know, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that. Noticing what you noticed.
Yeah. But it's like, you know, for years, I'd like, you know, if I needed to change the energy in myself or whatever, like, or other people, I'd like rub hands together really and say, like, remember who you are and who you were born to be, like, you know. And that's always been a bit of a thing for me, you know. And now I feel like when I'm doing that to myself, I'm like, I think I'm getting there.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that.
Yeah.
Remember who you are and who you were born to be.
Wow. Yeah. Good, isn't it?
Yes, it is good. It is good. Well, you're going to have to send me photos of this show when it's installed. I want to see it.
I absolutely will. I absolutely will. And you.
Oh, I know. Well, I did something tricky because I'm matching each painting. I don't know if I told
music. That's what I was saying. Do you remember I was listening to you recently and you were going, oh, I was listening to this called Michael. I can't remember his name. And I was like, I know who he's talking about.
You're right. I can't believe that was one of the synchronicities we had. I'm one of my paintings, Michael Kiwanuka.
Yeah.
And you immediately knew that when you heard me say that.
Yeah.
That is amazing. And that's a great singer, by the way, folks. I recommend Michael Kiwanuka, anything that he plays, pretty much, but he's some fantastic.
So were each of the pieces were to that whole album?
No. I picked a different genre and different music for each one.
I love that.
Yeah, his is it's called a song called The Final Frame. It's about a breakup. And it's just a feeling. And I love it. But yeah, so I have some country music. I have some class. I mean, I mixed it around a little bit.
I love that. And it's so true. Like I teach like a creativity kind of thing. I facilitate. And I think all the ladies that do it, they all thought that they were going to learn how to do watercolors, you know, and I'd be there like, close your eyes, you know, and put on some piece of classical music and make them like draw on the paper what they're listening to, you know. And then in finished, they'd be like, that was amazing, you know. And it is amazing, the energy of it. In fact, the last group exhibition I did, 3 of my paintings were done exactly what you're talking about, listening to music. It was the same album. It was an album from Soul to Soul that changed my life when I was a child. I was only about 18 or something, do you know what I mean? But it still holds power for me, like, and this still gives me, I don't know what to call it when you're lifted up, like.
Yeah.
Anyhow, yeah, the 3 of them, like, and so I really like that idea. I think it's lovely to paint to music.
You just
But
gave me a
equally,
wonderful idea too. It's so funny. I'm having a retreat. My goal is to start having retreats where people
I
come, but
love that.
I know I'm having a retreat this fall. It's just a 3-day retreat in North Texas here. And I was trying to think of an exercise and you just gave it to me. See?
It's brilliant though, honestly. Closing their
brilliant.
eyes and doing it to music and all. It's really cool. It's a great exercise. Like, there's some amazing things though. I could send you this really cool thing we had in work. And it was a way of getting people to connect, you know. And so you have to tell somebody 3 things about you. So you do a palm of your hand, you draw around the palm of the other person's hand, and then each of you have to exchange information about each other, and then you draw some of that information on each finger. So it can be like your family, what was your favorite memory as a kid, like, so you're doing the other person's, but it's a really cool way of connecting the people, you know. Like, I learned, we did it as a staff thing, and I learned more about the woman who was opposite me in those like 20 minutes of doing that exercise than I had the whole previous year working with her. Do you know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
like amazing. And again, it's getting back to what I was saying in the beginning. That whole connection thing is really cool. Like, so to do exercises that connect you all, like that you all feel you know each other a little bit better from doing that. It's cool, like. But there's a whole program here on that about, so I could send you the PDF anyhow if you wanted to have a read of it. Do you
No,
know?
I would love it. I would love it. Because, you know, I'm trying to get my hands around how to walk them through, because I'm like you. I believe that it's not just the act of creating, but it's the consciousness. It's, you know, whether you listen to music or, you know, one of the things that I'm really hung up on right now is your body. That
Yeah.
Listening to your body. How does your body feel when you're painting? Are you paying attention to, like, are you doing this? Do you have a hand clenched when you're painting? Or are your shoulders stiff? Because if your shoulders are stiff, the viewer's going to see it in the painting, you know, your body.
Yeah.
And so I love that exercise you just said, because I'm thinking you close their eyes, feel their body, listen to the music, and
Yeah.
right.
It's a really nice energy, like, and of course, you know, you'd have totally different marks on the page if you were listening to heavy or death metal or something ridiculous as classical music, you know.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's true. People have to be wary of that. I've met a lot of people that weren't very reflective, and they don't pay attention to you have to pay attention to what you're listening to, because it's going to cut.
Music speaks to me though. Like, honestly, like I it really does speak to me. Like, I know well that I'll get a message about something through music. Like, honestly, it's, you couldn't make it up. Like, you know, words are very powerful for me, especially in music. And I love music. And it used to, you know, the way sometimes you might just hear a beat and you know you're going to like that entire repertoire of the, or you just hear a word and then like the words become more important than the music, but together it's perfect. But yeah, I think music's incredibly powerful. Like, really.
You know, no, they are. It's so funny. When I was doing this thing, I listened to all this music before I picked which one I would do a painting on, right?
Yeah.
And invariably, I know this sounds weird, I created a playlist of like 70 songs that meant something to me. But then I started paying attention to sometimes I like the sound, but not the words.
Yeah.
But sometimes I like the words and the sound was okay. And so I had to start deciding.
You had to find what was both. That, like, the music and the words. Yeah. And then you've got the perfect music to
It's amazing how many upbeat, happy songs we call upbeat the music's upbeat, but the words aren't.
I know.
It's like la la la, kill someone, la la la. You know, you're like,
Like, what am I listening to?
so I
Or
had
when
to,
you realize what you're listening to. Oh, you know, songs from when you were young and all, and then you hear the meaning, and you're like, oh, I never knew that.
I never knew that.
Happily going around singing about heroin, you know,
Hookers.
golden brown.
I remember singing songs and my mother go, that's about prostitutes. I'm like, what?
No idea.
It's just a good beat. It's a good beat.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. We got to wind this up. Unfortunately, but you know what? I could talk to you forever, I think.
I think so too.
I do. I hate to wind this up. Is there anything that you want to share with the listeners that before we go, or do you want to share the show, where it is, when it starts? Want to say that again?
It's in Bray, County Wicklow, in Signal Arts Centre from the 18th of September to the 1st of October. Come.
I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. And, you know, I want to go back to something you said briefly about paper. I love painting on paper, but you're right. It's more expensive because then you have to frame it somehow. But I'll tell you, with acrylics, I love putting paint on, and then I mist it a little bit and treat it like a watercolor for the base. And you get this beautiful fluidity, and then you build up from it. Right.
Yeah.
Paper.
I love this painting behind you. I love it. I'm getting lost in it.
It is meant to get. Yeah. So, but you know, one thing I did do that's kind of interesting with paper, I should tell you, I have a framer that actually mounts the paper to foam core, and then he sprays it with a aqueous coating. It's not glass. You don't have to put it behind glass.
Oh, wow.
Because glass gives you that shine, and I feel like it pulls you away. And then you can just expose it like a regular painting, but it's paper.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that.
I'll explain it to you better. I'll send you a picture of one that's done that way.
I really enjoyed our chat, and I was so nervous, and now I can't believe an hour's gone already.
I know, it's already. This has been great, though. I thank you for the words, the compliments. Thank you for reaching out, and I'll have to do a retreat out there in Ireland sometime.
That's a really good idea.
I always wanted to.
God, put it out there.
I'll put it on my vision board.
I can be your Irish correspondent.
Yeah, you can help me find a place.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'll put down there. I'll be Googling Wicklow retreats.
I've always been attracted to Ireland because I'm a big gardener. I love green. I love plants. And it's always, at least in what we see, it's always so green and lush there.
Well, it is, because it never stops raining. Except today, because we've now got your son. Thank you. Thank you.
You're most welcome. All right. Well, thank you for being on the Spiritual Artist Podcast. Listeners, you can hit the notification bell, and you'll get reminded when new podcast interviews come out like this. I'm doing both technique interviews and interviews with great people like Iseult here. You know, I love your work, and I love your energy, and thanks for being on the Spiritual Artist Podcast.
Thank you. I'm really honored. Yeah, it's been amazing.